What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we're taking a look at a real fancy one from a recent show, the California Custom Knife Show, I guess the Spring Edition 2025, and this is the Shirogorov F3 show special. I guess you'd call it a special edition, limited edition. There's no box on these. They come in little bags, so I'm actually not too sure what we're calling it. There's a limit of 50 pieces, 5-0. Worldwide. So if you know anything about Shiro, there's less of these than new releases of custom divisions. So they're going to be popular, they're going to be sought after, really cool. Obviously, being that it's in now Magnacut, and there's not too many Shirogorovs that are done in Magnacut. So we got a cool one to talk about today. Really excited to show this piece because there's just so much to talk about. And I haven't had a Shiro on the channel here in a few weeks, and I'm getting a little bit of Shiro withdrawal. So, you know what? I'm excited to have a Shiro back and talk about one of my favorite knives, the F3. So that's what's on the docket today. Go grab yourself a beer, coffee, whiskey, whatever you want, and we'll enjoy it together. As a reminder, Bladezilla.ca. That's my website. And we have this F3 right here, which is this one. I just took pictures of it. Pretty cool. That's on the site. Go check it out. And I just used it as a thumbnail, I should say. And some Kunus, some CKFs, lots of good stuff. Currently, this is just a sick knife. I want to get a video on that. DLC, mirror polish. Oh, lots of good stuff. Bladezilla.ca. So there we go. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this gorgeous F3 from Shiro. And I should also mention it comes with a Hi-Tex chip, Hi-Tex being the manufacturer. And it's got a carbon fiber Shirogorov poker chip, and it's the first time I've seen that. So we've got a cool one on the docket today. It's pretty rare that I get all giddy and excited about a knife, but actually, I shouldn't say that. It's like, how many videos a week do I put out? That's how often I get giddy and excited about a knife. So I guess we'll just keep on rolling on our normal program. Let's get some measurements. So if it's your first time seeing an F3, it's a full-size knife, so 8 3/4 inch overall length, maybe a hair under that if we're kind of getting picky. Blade length of under 4 inches, should be 95 mils, I believe, but somewhere in that conversation, under 100. 4 inches being a very important number in a lot of states. And then, what are we at here? 4 7/8 on the handle length. Is that what I'm seeing? I unfortunately am looking at a tripod, so I'm kind of just guesstimating based on what I'm seeing on a screen. But I'm thinking 4 7/8, 4 3/4, somewhere in that conversation. Let's take a look at the weight. Let's get a girth report on this puppy and see what we're coming in at. I'm guessing 4 ounces, 4.5, something like that. Something like that. 4.2. Hey, I'm pretty close. Oh, jeez. Come on. Come on, man. There we go. 4.7. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it was 4. Let's do this. 4.7? That seems right. 4, 4.5, 4.7. I want to double check on that to see actually on the, I guess, yeah, 4.7, that's right. I've got a spec sheet this time. For the first time they published a spec sheet on this, which is nice. So, yeah, it's coming in at 4.6 ounces on the spec sheet. And I guess I should say that having the spec sheet doing a video is probably not going to change a lot of this because most of this time I fumble every little stat around. Because that's the kind of guy I am. But anyway, so super cool knife. I guess the main draw to this, and we'll talk about that really cool carbon fiber poker chip here soon. The main draw is the fact that it comes with that Magnacut blade. And as far as I know, I think they've had a show special in Russia with a Magnacut blade. They've had a RJ Martin... Which one was it now? They had an R.J. Martin special edition with Magnacut, which was their first Magnacut knife they ever made, as far as I know, barring I guess, in the production environment, I should say. They've had some others that are customs, but not many of them. So, first Magnacut F3 that I've seen, personally, and limited to 50 pieces, so pretty cool. The normal F3 NS knives have typically been M390, or if you look at the Element series, they have been, Vanix, M390, LMAX, and S90V for the Terrace. So this is truly, if you're an F3 nut, this is truly the first time getting Magnacut on a production knife. Mind you, still special edition, still limited pieces, so they're going to go, I think, relatively quickly, just because Magnacut is really sought after steel right now. I guess let's start at the handle and work our way around. So it is techno-carbon, or techno-carbo, and what that means is there's lots of layering of varying materials, and it also means they're all very different. As the light reflects around, the knife changes complexities and complexions, and they all have a different kind of slice of that techno-carbo, so to speak. And they're all unique, every single one of them. So some will be more wavy, some will have more of that gold color inside it, some will have less, some will have all kinds of different configurations. Shiro's been using this material for a number of years on a number of knives, and highly popular, and just, once again, one more material that really adds a lot of life to your collection, in my opinion. Looks real terrific. We've got milling, and I think it was 6, maybe 7 slots, I can't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuts into that techno-carbo. Looks really good. And they used to do it up on the top here as well, which I think they still do as well. Let's rotate this, maybe the light hits it a little better. Yeah, there we go. It pops a lot better when we're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. Pretty slick, and it's matched on both sides, right? So yeah, those scales are gorgeous. I should also add, you know, the beauty of this as well is, as we get into the actual kind of sides of the material of techno-carbo, there's a lot going on with the actual, like, how do I explain this? Like, it's almost like fingerprint-esque. If we look along the layering of it, it's just done so well. And every knife, like I said, all very different. You look at examples like around the hardware here, how that, you know, Shirogorov pops out that little extra bit of material that provides support. Super cool. I think they've knocked this out of the park, and if you're like me, black and gold is always just a home run. It always works so well. I don't know if they're calling it, you know, here we are back at the spec sheet conversation. I don't know if they're calling it gold or if it's bronze or what, but to me it's black and gold. It looks absolutely terrific in this light. Gorgeous. The back spacer and clip should be matched. They typically are, and I believe they're both titanium. Like, look, darkened tie. Let me double check on that as I kind of just talk with you guys here, but I think it's yeah, darkened tie, pivot collars, and clip. Oh, I didn't even notice that. There you go. The darkened tie on the pivot collars. I didn't even notice it had pivot collars. You know, I should probably read these specs before I look at it. That's a nice little touch as well. That's a gorgeous touch. So I should have refreshed on that. So there we go. Pivot collars, tie, clip, darkened tie, and then the clip itself. And let's just take a look at that clip. Look at those milling lines if you're watching in 4K. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. I love looking at those milling lines. It's done so well. And let's crack this guy open. Take a peek on the inside. Grab my little light here. I think we should have a bunch of wavy milling lines. There we go. We have it. So you can see it there with the light on the bottom. There you go. Big pockets of titanium taken out of this. They're just as gorgeous when you open them up and look inside as they are externally with all that milling work. They're just such a gorgeous knife. The F3s, just Shiros in general, they a lot of people don't realize how much above their weight class Shiro tends to punch. just with the details. It's really hard to explain without feeling one and understanding it. The clip, as I mentioned earlier, obviously dark and tie, but it's actually attached internally with a screw. So if we look on the back here, it's all blanks. So 1 and 2 on this side, and then internally we've got a screw that goes boop and grabs that clip. It is, I believe, it could be it might be the same size as this guy here. It might be a smaller bit by just a little bit. I can't recall. But it is a Shiro tool to open that guy up. Shiro tool, basically, as you can kind of see here, it looks a lot like a screwdriver, but is clearly not a screwdriver. You get away with like a penny or something, but honestly, if you're spending this kind of money, just get the tool. As they pop up on the secondary, they're pretty common-ish to find. Yeah, I guess in a pinch you could use like a credit card. Just the key there is something that's a softer material than the hardware itself, as to not damage it or mar it. That's the main key there. I think that this feels standard in terms of blade width. I don't know the spec. I thought it was 3 mils. It could be 3.5, but it seems pretty normal. The blade itself, this is where I have to look back on my videos and photos. I don't know if it's the same. It probably is, just looking at it. Yeah, the F3's always had that big nose, right? I think, on the NS's, I think so. The jimping and spacing seems to match, if we look at it like this. The back spacer, which I always dig. And actually, you know what? Look at the milling on this, on the jimping itself. Look at the detail on how they kind of bevel the blade here with this little bit of the pinch on the nose here. So it goes down, and they add a little flare to the jimping so it makes it look like it's expanding, almost as if they make it look like the blade width, the blade stock, is kind of expanding towards the pivot. But it's really not. It's just this little bevel on the blade here, this little pinch. That's cool. That's so cool. I love it. Love this knife so much. Drop point as well. I haven't really touched on that. And this little nose here is very neon-esque, which, yeah, let's grab a neon. Is it now a good time? Let's do some comparisons here. And why don't we put this at the bottom and we'll go one at a time because we got time today. I'm in no rush. Or I'm not in any more rush than normal. So start with that neon to show that blade, that little nose on the top there, right? The little bloop. Always cool. If we want to go into the big boys, actually, you know what? Let's do our F95 Hattie. If we remember the Hattie, this is a CCKS knife as well from a few years back, and lo and behold, black and gold. And this is an S90V Hattie. But I should also say the beauty of this one, like if you compare the two stocks of the Techno Carbo, I would argue there's a lot less gold on this one. A lot more layering, or not more layering of black and clear. But this is also a CCKS knife, which is pretty slick. Which one do you prefer? Kind of the more all black look with a little bit of gold in it, no collars. S90V. Copper, I guess the big thing on this one is that copper backspacer, which is cool, but for the most part, standard Hattie, pretty cool. Or this one with all the layering of beautiful Goldilocks action. Oh, I'm taking this one. Personally, I think it looks better. And we haven't even talked about the coin. Okay, let's go F95. Sorry, Quantum. We're going to do this guy. There's your Quantum. This is an E-Knives Quantum. Let's move this down ever so slightly. E-Knives Quantum, very similar to Monkey Edge Frag Quantum, other than it's... what's the big difference on this one? I think this one's multi-row bearings, where the other one's single-row bearings, which we'll talk about, I guess, now. The multi-row bearings is Shiro's high-end production bearing system, and it's typically written on the inside of the knife for MRBS. And let's take a look at the F3 where they write that. I can't remember. It's not in the same spot as what I remember. Was it inside here? Or was it on the... tip, or was it on the inside of the liner? Can't remember on this. Let's keep on looking. I know it is a multi-row bearing knife. I just can't remember where they write it. And it'd be helpful if I had a little... let's grab my little light. Or is it on the tip up here? Let's find it together. Okay, not on the bottom. Is it on the top? Ah, there it is. In front of the backspacer, MRBS, multi-row bearing system. So it does have the high-end bearings, obviously, as you'd expect. Honestly, at this price point, it's a no-brainer. The difference is, so multi-row bearings is their high-end production bearing system where you have a circle, their bearing track, and they kind of put 3 pinwheel bearings, or 2, depending on the model. This one should be 3, kind of in a pinwheel pattern sporadically around it, and that actually adds to side-to-side blade stability more than anything, spreading the load out instead of a standard SRB or SRBS Shiro is more of a standard bearing with balls in a circle. From an action perspective, you tell me. Here's multi-row bearings. They're all smooth. This one's not broken in, obviously. And then single row bearings. Silky smooth as well. This one's a few years old, broken in a long time ago. And this is what the Shiros will actually end up with. It doesn't really matter what system you go with. They all become silky, silky smooth. And the beauty is when you park them, they tend not to drop. Right? When you hold them like, let's put a ridiculous angle on it. Like that. And then a little bloop. And they drop. So pretty cool. I don't know how we ended on that tangent. Let's keep on rolling down the comparison line. This is what we do. This is why we do long videos, long form videos, because we got time. It's fun to have some conversations as if we're at a coffee shop. Let's go Astrum next. As if we're at a coffee shop, hanging out, having a cup of joe. The Astrum for those who are unfamiliar is more of a thinner knife, so I call them like a big neon. I don't know if that's sticking in the industry or not in the industry, but online I call it a big neon because to me it's a big neon. And if you look at it, and we grab that neon again, you know, just the lines on it, the thickness of it, just look at how the profile, the ergonomics are very similar on the Astrum to the Neon. I personally love it. It's my knife of the year 2024. I think that it's insane how they're able to fit a 4-inch blade inside a handle that thin and in a form factor that is smaller than an F3 with a shorter blade. I don't know how they do it. I don't ask questions. I just think that it's done super, super well, and one of my favorite knives I've ever owned. This has been getting a lot of pocket time. But then again, so has the Neon, so has Stellar, so has lots of them in my collection. Let's keep on rolling down the Shiro line. We can grab some customs, or not customs, some special editions. We can do the RJ. That is a Russian Overkill. Russian Overkill meaning that it's the titanium model of that series. Roller bearings instead of multi-row bearings. And full tie, M398, super sick knife. They're getting harder to find, but as the RJ Martin series kind of go, there's a number of different configurations with the Molten Overkill, the Denim Overkill, the Arctic Overkill. So there's, and then the micartas, the Soft Overkill. There's 3 colors of that. I think it's green, micarta, or no, green, maroon, and black. Sound right? And then they match all the backspacers and whatnot on there. And then we've got the Tom Mayo Dr. Death, Russian Dr. Death. Once again, going back to the full tie. Super, super sick knife. One of my favorites. Thin knife, just like the Astrum. Very similar, actually. Love that knife. The Bio, another special edition. 50 pieces. Or no, sorry. I think there's 150 or 100 of each. 100 of each might be right. 200 total. I can't remember. Beautiful knife, a lot thinner as well, full tie, light and dark variations of these. Highly, highly popular, and if you ever able to see one of these, I've done videos on this knife, this exact knife, and a light version of it, and they're just titanium milled. It's just so well done. And the thing is here is you look at it and you go, hey, that pivot looks really tall and bulbous and whatever, and really it's completely flat, right? See what I'm talking about? It doesn't even stick up really. Really cool knife. And then I guess we can go into the recent, I think this was November-ish, 2024, Russian Laksa, Scott Cook, collab piece. Very rare to have any Shirogorov running on bushings or phosphor bronze, other than some early models and 10th anniversary F95, which I'm still trying to get my hands on one of those to review. But here we go, Shiro's first integral in collaboration with Scott Cook, with gorgeous blade S90V, and just an absolute heavy hitter all around. I've done a video on this that was probably an hour long. One of, if not one of my all-time favorite Shirogorovs ever made, and those are lock and key by a lot of people. Immediately overnight, that knife doubled pretty crazy price-wise. And then what else do we want to do? We like to do let's do an Zon today. People love that knife. Hey, every time I bring this out instead of the large Sabenza, people are very, it's always positive feedback on the Zons. Very loyal group of people. And I'm always asked what my version of the Zon that I would get if I were to buy it again. I would get a Magnacut glass blasted Zon. That'd be so cool. This is not glass blasted, and it has more of a kind of sandpaper finish to it. More rough, I should say. Super cool if you're going to carry and use it, but the glass blasted ones are just a little cooler in my opinion. We're not going to do the small Sabenza. I guess I can show the knife I open a lot of boxes with, just for size scale. There's your pair too. We're not going to spend any time on that. There we go. And we'll go F95 custom division for size comparison, just because that is the 95mm blade. That has kind of become cool with this knife. And you're probably asking if this is your first time looking at a Shiro. You know, what's the difference between an F3 and a Quantum and a Hattie? Well, this is obviously a liner lock, right? Whereas the Hattie and F95, they're frame locks. The Quantum is also a frame lock. And I guess the difference between a Quantum and an F95 is kind of the configuration of the pivot and the design. Typically, this is more of an F95 style. And the Hattie is a front carbon version of an F95. Half tie. Hattie, half tie. That's what that means. Fun fact. And I used to remember, I used to know what neon stood for, and it was so obvious too, and I heard it, but I can never remember what neon stands for, but it's neon. I can't remember what it means. Someone in the comments, please tell me what neon stands for, and I'll be grateful, and I'll write it on a post-it, put it right beside me, and I'll use it in my next video, because that's important detail. Back to the F3, super sick knife, as I've talked about. You know, the pivot collars actually add a lot of flair to this and make it look really, really good, especially compared to that half tie over there, the Hattie that didn't have it. I think pivot collars are just so well done, especially kind of when they match everything and match the clip, match the back spacer. Really ties everything nicely together. Something we haven't talked about is it does have a lanyard hole, obviously, built into that darkened back spacer, which is really useful, practical if you want to throw something in there. You know, it really would look good on this one. A nice, I'd say more of a copper back spacer. You go copper, tie, both look really good. I think that'd be a nice match to that bronze finish on it. Lots of room, and from a side profile, it doesn't really, you don't really see it, which is awesome. I didn't even mention this as well on the lock bar. See how that lock bar is actually raised? I always try to roll the knife and show that, but it is raised, really comfortable to show and feel in your hand. And a lot of lefties really like the F3s. Just as a side note, a lot of lefties love the F3s. Not sure why, but it's just a really good user that way. You can't alter the clip, can't mount it in any of the hardware, nothing like that, but lefties tend to prefer the F3s. Let's bust into some of the accessories that kind of come with this as well. So you get a CCKS show exclusive, right? Spring 2025. There's no numbering of, they're individually numbered, obviously, under my finger, but there's only 50 of these, okay? So they're all individually numbered on that credit card, nothing on the back, as you can see. They come with this little box that has High-Tech's, that's kind of how they issue their chips. And we're going to crack open this, but there you go, High-Tech's Gear USA, made in the US. Pretty nice little pair. And then a Shiro leather sheath. And this is where you're supposed to put the coin if you want to keep it as a whole kit. I believe at the show they put everything in without the bag. I believe they just shoved the card behind the knife and then the coin inside. Really nice leather, smells really good too. Nice thick stitching, and also it's a nice way of actually matching, if we look at this, how the sheath is black and gold. Little details like that, no one's talking about that, but I think that's a really cool matching kit. You know, this piece of leather here would probably be $100 on its own. And then if we go into this nice little chip, let's crack this open and slide this guy just over to the back. There's your Shiro CCKS High-Tech's chip, poker chip. Looks great. And that bear is looking great. Whew. Nice kind of satin color to it on the Shiro logo, darkened, all surrounded with milling. Made of that same material as the knife itself. Just a nice matching partner to it. I'll flip it around. And then we have more of that gold popping off, and light on this is just incredible. You could use this to signal friends from far away as the light hits it and utilizing the sun as a mirror. Or you can use it as a poker chip. One of the two, or both. And all jokes aside, I just think it's a terrific looking pair, right? Wouldn't you? Same materials, same knife. I just think that's a great, nice little add-on. You know, poker chips, they're a few $100 anyway. With High-Tech's minimum, sometimes they're up to $300-400, depending on the limitations and what brand's on it and all kinds of finish work. But this one, it's really terrific, well done. And just looking at it, if we look around that Shiro bear, it's not just cut in a circle, it's actually raised in a kind of a volcano matter around it. It's just really well done. And it's hard to explain, but get one and put it in your hand, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a gorgeous poker chip. And then back to the fingerprint style of the layering on these. If we can see that, it's just really cool. They're all individual. All different. So that's cool. And probably one of the cooler poker chips I've had from Shiro. You know, the one that I have back here from the Hattie CCKS Spring 2021 or 22, I can't remember. It's a tie chip that matches the backspacer. Pretty cool. Or was it copper? I can't remember. I'm assuming it'd be copper. I'd have to look. It's locked up. But I think this one looks cool. Black and gold just looks really cool. And then obviously it comes in the little case. You put that in your deck of cards that it kind of comes with there, the deck of cards case. I think it's just a nice fitting overall experience that you don't really get from a production F3. And it's been a while, now that I think about this, since they've launched a production F3 NS, new style NS. It's been quite a while. It's only been I'm trying to think out loud here. I think it's the Element series would have been the last ones they've done. So, yeah, it's been a minute. As I mentioned, there was a Russian show, F3, that recently had Magnacut. They did kind of black and red, I think. Same configuration. I don't know how many of those were produced. I'm assuming not many. I haven't seen too many of them. And personally, I think the gold is just better. I think I like black and gold. You know, some people like blue, some people like red. I like black and gold. That's why my personal collection has a black and gold Hattie. So, pretty cool knife. This one here will probably be mine, let's be honest. I think it's just a real nice example of an F3 overall. And there you can see a lot of the layering there. That looks real good. Gorgeous. Buy yourself the tool if you're going to take it apart and modify the action. And a lot of people try to get away with not doing it and then end up damaging the hardware. And the hardware is $100, guys. Like, it's not pretty to have to absorb. So just, you know, put that $100 that you're going to end up having to buy hardware with towards the pen tool or the cyber tool. Yeah, they're totally worth it. But multi-row bearings already feeling really good on this one. Gorgeous. Okay, well, I'm trying to think here. Oh, I didn't even talk about fit in hand, nothing like that. So remember, I'm an extra large glove, and I've got another finger of room here, no problem. My thumb falls naturally on that jimping, nice and comfortably without any issues. And if you did want to choke up on it, you certainly can, right up to the tip. That's what she said. If you wanted to, it's nice and flat to provide both comfort for that slicing as well as a little strength to the tip of that blade. Magnacut is as well, obviously kind of the sexy steel right now of the last 6-12 months. You know, I'm asked all the time what I think of Magnacut, and I've heard stories both ways of people saying Magnacut is incredibly done well and super amazing in every way. And I've also heard others say, you know, I'll take M390 just because it's easier to work on. So I think it all comes down to how it's heat treated. I don't know what degree this is heat treated at. I actually can't seem to find that information. So I don't know what Shiro heat treats their Magnacut to. But I'm assuming they know what they're doing based on the level of detail they do at every single other detail of these knives, be it the milling, the features, just the design, the detail, the execution. I would imagine they know exactly what they're doing. So I think on Magnacut, the higher is kind of better. I think 64 is what 63, 62, somewhere around there, depending. And remember, it has a lot to do with the actual blade stock and the grind that's on it in terms of how thick and the type of grind it is. You're going to do different things with the stock, so keep that in mind. And probably the size, right? Just keep that in mind. So there's no perfect number. It all depends on the design. You know, things I would change on the F3. You know, I've mentioned this. I'm not a big fan of having the bear on the blade, but given that it's carbon, you know, I get you can't really put it on the heel, on the handle. You know, you're not going to ever take that Magnacut off, because even on their $20,000+, $30,000 full customs, they have the blade steel written on there, so that's not going anywhere. But in a perfect world, I'd love to have it probably right there. Right on that little flat spot. It's probably where I'd put it. But, and I know they've done that in the past. I've always loved it. Gorgeous knife. Home run from Shiro on this CCKS 2025 F3. Not much I'd change. I should also say this. I'm just going to put that blade away so I don't cut myself. There's a lot of contouring on this, so I don't know if they're calling it, you know, 3D contoured or whatever, but it's really tough to show on a knife like this how rounded out the knife actually is, the carbon. It's very difficult to show in hand, but it fits like this, like you're holding a pistol. Like it's just wrapped into your palm so nicely. Same with the rounding on the clip up here. That's all milling under great detail. You can see it, but it's all milling here as well as under here. So it's 3D rounded and beveled. It's just gorgeous. There's no hot spots on this. Beautifully done. Definitely, if you have some friends who have some of this stuff, or a shop that, you know, buddy or whatever, try to get your hands on a Shiro and just experience one to know what I'm talking about, because once you hold one, you'll understand kind of what I'm getting at, like the tolerances between the frame and the the Techno Carbo, and the action is just on a different level compared to some of the other flippers. It's tough to explain without experiencing it, and once you do, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, God, this thing's beautiful. So, I think that's it. I probably blabbed on 10 minutes longer than I initially kind of thought I would, but I guess the main points: Magnacut blade, darkened tie on the back spacer, clip, and I guess the what am I saying? Pivot collars. So that's a real nice tough touch. Very subtle as well. Very subtle. I didn't really notice that at first. Blade, just beautifully done. I love how everything's matched. And 50 pieces worldwide. It's going to mean these are going to be a nice one to grab, and certainly something worthy of my own collection, because these are all the things I look for. So there you go. There's your F3 CCKS 2025 Spring F3 with Magnacut. Super cool knife. Available on the site right now. I haven't checked if there's any that are sold or not, but I'm assuming there's some demand for these because they're just gorgeous knives based on all the history of the brand, and just well done design. Okay, guys, have yourself a fantastic week. Check out Instagram, Bladezilla, YouTube. You're on it now. Hit a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. Monday, Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. I've got a full-length video every single week, or at least for the last year and a half. And follow me on TikTok and Facebook as well, where I'll do some promo codes periodically for the Facebook group, try to build some traction up there. And otherwise, have yourself a great week, and or what's left of it. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.